King Rephaim wanted to be a god. In the days before the flood, when men worshipped the fingers and tongues that lived in the rocks, there was a city built to rival heaven itself. The walls stood as tall as mountains, the corpses of angels and kings tied to their parapets, swaying in the wind. There were towers carved from divine flesh that reached deep into the skies, gold and ivory running like rivers through the labyrinthian streets. The city was called Kawak, and for 70 years, King Rephaim had ruled with an unquenchable thirst for power. But reaching the end of his life, Rephaim would frequently journey across the desert, escorted by his caravan of servants and bodyguards, in search of any who could offer him the secret of longevity. It was on one of these journeys that King Rephaim found the way ahead blocked, a filthy, diseased mule standing in the road to oppose him. Enraged, Rephaim called for his guards to slaughter the mule, to spill its blood on the sand and to salt the ground where it lay so that it may never walk again. Before this could be done, however, Rephaim heard the mule call out with the voice of a man, saying, "Who are you that would slaughter an angel of the Lord?" "There is only one God over this land," Rephaim replied, "and that is King Rephaim of Kawak, he who stands before you now, and he who will soon see you dead." "You claim to be a god, and yet, sooner than you realize, we shall be united in the grave," the mule replied. "Enough of this," said King Rephaim, ordering his guards to kill the mule. But before the killing blow could be delivered, the mule bit down on the guard's arm, ripping and tearing at the flesh until all were devoured. The king sat in a stunned silence, his remaining guards rushing to his protection, the mule's mad laughter riding the wind as it ate. "Foolish old man," said the mule, a stream of gore dribbling from its mouth. "I speak with the tongue of he who drinks the sky. With a word, I could speak your eyes into blindness. I could whisper leprosy into your skin, poison the bloodline of your sons and daughters. Or perhaps I'll shout your kingdom into ruin, grow faces on the walls of your city that will gnaw at your victories, and drool holy madness onto all who live within." And for the first time in his life, King Rephaim fell to his knees and groveled. He prayed to the mule, who in turn simply laughed and laughed and laughed, bloodshot eyes bulging from its dirt-caked head, flies coating its skinny, malnourished body. The mule laughed and didn't stop until King Rephaim and his men began to weep out of fear for their lives. And finally, the mule spoke. "I know you well, King Rephaim. The trees and the stones speak mockingly of you. The saints laugh at the king who will never be a god," the mule said. "But I am not without pity. Stand, and I will spare your life, and give that which you desire." The king stood, his purple robes covered in sand, tears running down his face. "What can you do for me?" the king asked. The mule replied, "In my mouth are 1,000 teeth, and upon each is written a name. You will reach into my mouth and pull 3 teeth, and the names written thereupon will become yours." But the king, fearful, said, "O glorious angel, I fear that I will harm you when your teeth are pulled, and in shock you will bite my arm." The mule replied, "If I take your arm from you, it will be simply because I desire it." And slowly the king did as he was told. "No!" shouted the mule, as the king took his first step. "Crawl on your belly like a worm." The king crawled, the mule giggling under its breath. The mule opened its blood-soaked maw, jaw unhinging, rows upon rows of rotted teeth filling every inch of its mouth, and continued down into its throat for as far as the king could see. Carefully, the king reached in with a trembling hand, and one after another plucked 3 teeth from the mule's gums, trying to ignore its sharp, ecstatic gasps. "Well done. The names you have chosen suit you well," the mule said. "Go now. Return to your city, but be warned, keep my teeth on your person wherever you go. When you eventually die, as all things do, I will return to you. You will place my teeth back in my mouth, and you will ride on my back into the hell you truly deserve." King Rephaim returned to his city, and for hundreds of years, the walls of Kawak stood firm and tall under his reign. Temples were built in his name, statues of bronze bearing his likeness were erected, and worshipped by his subjects who thought him to be a god. But of course, King Rephaim was not a god. And when time crumbled his walls and turned his subjects against him, burning his temples and toppling his statues, flaying his skin and burying him alive, deep within the earth where madness moves like an ocean among the rocks. The mule returned to the king. "I have come, King Rephaim, just as I said I would all those years ago," said the mule. "Do you have my teeth?" The king, his flesh mutilated and his mind numb with madness, struggled to speak. "Old friend, in my hubris I have turned my subjects against me. They have stolen your teeth and burned my city. Free me, and together we can reclaim that which is ours." And once more, the mule laughed. "Did I not warn you to keep my teeth on your person for the remainder of your days? Tell me, Rephaim, what lie in the world above that belong to you and you alone? Is your wealth and power not granted by the teeth plucked from my mouth? Indeed, I shall go and rule my new kingdom. You, however, shall have your immortality." And so, the mule ruled over Kawak for 1,000 years, bringing agony and untold horror to those within. Miles below his kingdom, in the endless dark, King Rephaim begged for death.